Hello, fellow gamers. If you're like me, you just finished watching the Greenhell Spirits of Amazonia Part 3 trailer for their release date and are incredibly excited for what is to come. Now, normally, I'm pretty well known for my videos regarding building and survival when it comes to Greenhell, but today we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to give you my initial reactions to this trailer and also make some, couple of predictions here and there. Do keep in mind, number one, I don't have any inside knowledge. These are all just guesses. I'm just spitballing here. But number two, there could be potential spoilers in here. So number one, before we get started, what I wanted to say, if you don't want to watch spoilers, just watch this after it gets released. It's going to come out in a couple weeks. But number two, if you haven't seen the trailer again, just go ahead and hit pause on this, open up another browser window, do a search for it. You'll find it. And it's about 30 seconds long. And then come back and check this out and follow along with me now. All right, I think we've given everybody adequate time to pause the video for whatever reason, whether you don't want spoilers. And keep in mind, there might be some spoilers for story mode, SOA 1 and SOA 2 in here, just to kind of better explain things as well. Wanted to give our console players that warning as well. Yeah, let's get started. So at the very start of this video, we see something we've seen before, and that is some natives in cages that have been captured by the, we'll say, the opposing faction of the peaceful natives that are in the area. And I guess the biggest thing here, even though it's more of the same, my biggest question, are we going to find out more about what this other faction's motives are for capturing the peaceful natives? Are they doing it for their own personal reasons? I don't know. I really don't think it's that simple. It could be something where maybe they're trading them with the gold mine or the folks over at the drug lab, because you may remember Jake's first interaction, I guess, with the drug lab is seeing cages that are identical to this one. One other thing we have to consider, if they are doing some sort of work with the folks over at the drug lab and or the gold mine, what are they getting out of it? Are they just trying to eradicate their rivals, or are they getting something more out of this from them? I hope there's a little bit more complexity, because this is a very simple picture, I know that, but hopefully there's a little bit more complexity added to the story between these two very different tribes. In the next couple of seconds of the video, we see some interesting stuff that could be potentially new items in the game. The first thing that jumped out at me when I first watched this trailer was this. Is this some new sort of like a bamboo weapons rack or something? Also, then my attention got drawn to this. Is this maybe some sort of new Biden that's in the game? Is it a mud Biden, or maybe some sort of leather working that you would need to do to craft this? I don't know, but it's very interesting. I guess maybe it's just an oversized coconut. I don't think that's what it is, but yeah, I don't know. But these two items, of course, we already have the bamboo bow, but this is very interesting to me. Initially, I thought this might be something new as well, but after further inspection, after watching this video about 500 times, I'm thinking these are more the supports for this bamboo pier, which I hope we can make as well. Last but not least, it looks like he's doing my favorite type of fishing. Love it. A couple more seconds into the video, I saw something interesting as well. It looks like there's a different type of fish trap in here. It may not be a new item. We've seen other items being used by natives that Jake just simply cannot make, like standing torches in Spirits of Amazonia and the hammocks in the original story mode. One thing that's interesting to me is that it looks like it's made out of liana rope, maybe some sticks here and there, or bamboo sticks. I don't know, but it looks like it's made out of liana rope, but it looks incredibly, incredibly intricate. Next, we see a native knitting or stitching, whatever it is, crafting, we'll say. Crafting what looks like a net. And, this might be the case again, where this is something where it's just kind of background scenery. It just adds a little extra immersion to the game and just to the natives' culture in general. But I do find it interesting that she is also using a bone needle here. So I do hope this is something else that we can make. This is probably the one that I feel least confident about. I really do feel it's probably just for additional immersion in the game. Next, we get an image of the smoke. And it's interesting because Creepy Jar over the last couple of days has put quite a bit of emphasis on their Twitter their Facebook, and I believe their Instagram accounts as well. They actually had a couple of different tweets or posts, or whatever the kids are calling it these days. And so to me, this might be something pretty important to the overall story, and possibly gameplay in the new expansion. The biggest question that everybody's asking is, what's the smoke coming from? A lot of people are saying boats and whatnot. It would probably take a pretty big boat, though, to create this much exhaust or smoke or whatever it is. For me, my guess is on the gold mine. In Spirits of Amazonia 2, it wasn't set up and the drug lab was only partially built. I think the smoke is telling us that now both are open for business and wreaking havoc on the jungle and its inhabitants. Is this the area that the gold mine looked like before it was drained and mined to death? On the flip side, could it be maybe the bodies that Jake discovered that were burnt? I don't think we're that far along yet. My money is seriously on this is what the gold mine originally looked like, before it was, again, just mined and just drained of all its resources. But only time will tell. Next in the trailer, it introduces us to this very interesting native village, and I say that for a couple different reasons. Number one, we're seeing different uses of similar materials, and it's got a little bit more complexity to it. While it doesn't look as large as the main abandoned native village in the original story mode, it does look. I mean, this would take a little bit more sophistication to put together. So is that kind of a hint that maybe this group of natives is a little more advanced than some of the other places that we've visited? One thing that in particular, I should say, that jumped out at me is it looks like this might be a new type of totem over here, unless it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. Looks like you've got three long sticks here, for example, and a tapir. Well, I hope it's a tapir skull. I hope that's what it is. Just looks a little bit different from what we've seen in Spirits of Amazonia Part 1, Part 2, and of course the original story mode. Now we're really getting into the meat and potatoes of this trailer. This next part it obviously looks like it's another, we'll call it a spiritual journey involving ayahuasca, but the most obvious part of this is the bird in the air. Now, we've seen other animals like snakes and butterflies where it kind of has this multicolored, bright colored, just striking appearance of them that isn't really normal, obviously, in nature. I've almost pretty much become like a tropical rainforest expert in birds. I've done quite a bit of research in this over the last couple of hours, and I have a couple of guesses about what type of bird this is. One of them is it's a bird that's called a great patu, and it's actually like a living, I don't know if it's technically a living fossil, but it's a very old bird. And they have this amazing laugh. I've actually seen one in person, and they're just really unique looking birds. Another option, it could be an eagle that's native to the area. They do have eagles down in the rainforest, or it could be a laughing falcon. Now, the reason I've guessed those three is the flying profile and the tail. Eagle is probably last on my list. Great Patu, I hope I'm saying that right. Great Patu and the Laughing Falcon are higher possibilities, mainly because of that large tail in the back. My money, though, is on my fourth option on what I think this is, and that is a Hoatzin, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Like the Great Patu, it is an older bird, and it actually has claws on its wings, and it's in the same family of Archaeopteryx. And some of you dinosaur enthusiasts may remember that an Archaeopteryx, and again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is basically a bird dinosaur. Some folks consider them to be the link between dinosaurs and birds with that theory. So my money is on the Hoatzin. I think it's appropriate. The flight profile, the body of it, while it's flying, looks very similar. It has a very large tail in the back. I do hope it's one of those four, but again, I really hope that it is a Hoatzin. In the next part of the trailer, we have someone drinking brew in the village, or at least one of the villages, while a celebration or some kind of ceremony is taking place. So this more than likely, I think it's safe to assume, is Jake, since it's from his perspective, the the almost pretty much the whole game, and just judging. I don't know. I My guess is this is ayahuasca, and maybe what he's doing is he's going on a spiritual journey with these natives to either number one gain their trust, or number two, maybe they are trying to unlock details in their past with visions like Jake does later on in story mode. Another thing that I noticed after, checking this out a couple of times is that I don't see any children or women present. It seems to be all men in the tribe. So that kind of, it really makes me wonder, is that what Jake is doing? Maybe he's going on this spiritual journey with them to try to find answers, to either rescue them or determine what happened, or just try to think of a next plan of action. After we cut away from the village and the brew, we see something that is very striking. It's pretty obvious. It looks like there's going to be some sort of new weapon in the game. I did a lot of looking online. I could not find anything that looked like this, but I have seen this in movies where the backdrop, the setting is, in the Amazonian rainforest. So it's not surprising. I have seen this before. I'm not going to mention any of the movies, but it looks like maybe you need a couple of stones, obviously a plank, I guess, maybe a stick and some rope, and it's got all these inscriptions on it. I'm wondering if this is part of a quest. Like maybe this is kind of something that the peaceful tribe puts together, or gives Jake instructions on how to make something like this so that he can take out this camp, or maybe complete some other objective. Maybe there's something in the camp that the natives want back or that they need. And, you can see the camp back here. You can see a totem right here. All this stuff looks fairly standard. Looks like he's already taken care of one of them. But yeah, this looks like we are going to have some type of either new weapon in the game, or it's a quest item that you use for this particular quest, and then maybe you give it back to the peaceful natives. Next up in the trailer, it looks like we have another spiritual journey. And the most striking part of this really quick image, I mean, if you blink in the trailer, you're going to miss this, but it looks like there's a puma and he's on fire. It could be some sort of metaphor to what the drug lab and gold mine are doing, just in regards of their basic pillaging of the jungle for their own material means. This is the most striking, but also the most clearly obvious part of this. Again, it's a quarter of a second. It is a very quick clip in this trailer. There are a couple other things that I see in here. It looks like there's a couple of new mushrooms. We do have, some normal fauna that we've seen before. These might be the mushrooms that give you a little bit of time, 2 energy, I think it is. We have your Monstera deliciosa. But then you also have this, and these are actual mushrooms. I'm pretty sure that this is a psilocybe cubensis, okay? This up here. It looks very similar to pictures that I've seen online. It is a psychedelic. Maybe it's a new ingredient for a new type of spiritual journey soup. I don't know. But it definitely, one of the things that I found online is that it can induce states of mystical unity. So is this one of the ingredients that they put in the brew in, one of the previous portions of the trailer that I showed you, where they're either doing some sort of ceremony or celebration in that native village? We also have one over here called Marasmius Tageticolor. It looks very similar, almost identical to a different game that I played called Satisfactory, where it's called Bacon Agaric. I've heard it called Forbidden Peppermint. I did a lot of looking in on this particular mushroom, and I could not find a lot of information on it. So while I do have a pretty confident prediction on what this other stuff is, I can't find out. My biggest point of researching this was, is this edible or not? Obviously, these are all very larger. For example, this is about in reality, this is a 1/2 inch in diameter. It looks much larger, so that's part of this spiritual journey, again, we'll call it. But outside of that, the closest thing that I could find to any type of evidence is that out of all the around about 500 different mushrooms in this particular family, there are some that are edible, but there are no specific details that I could find on this specific type. So we're just going to have to wait and see. Another thing I noticed, last but not least, are these, they look like very tall. They almost look like the statues in Easter Island. But again, maybe this is just an exaggeration, kind of like the size difference in the mushrooms. Maybe this is just another exaggeration in Jake's vision. One last thing. I'm sorry. I know I said the last thing was the last thing, but this is the last thing just because I forgot to mention it. This might be just, it looks like some of them are down and some of them are up. I'm wondering if these, the only other thing I can think of is maybe these are the mushrooms that are in the Spirits of Amazonia, the ones that grow on the vines in caves that cure fever but make you thirsty. That's the only other thing that I can think of. But again, we shall see. Before we see the credits of the trailer, we see this gentleman right here. And is this just a new type of enemy like what we saw in the Thug and Spirits of Amazonia 1 and 2? Or is this like the final boss, you know, the big bad evil guy, the BBEG as it's called in D&D? I'm thinking that it is. I'm thinking that this, the only other thing I can think of is maybe this is a native, but he, like a peaceful native, but he doesn't look very peaceful. He looks pretty ominous. So I'm going to go with my initial guess right there that maybe maybe this is the quote unquote bad guy that's pulling all the strings, you know, with all of these native attacks and whatnot. He also has an interesting helmet. Been kind of racking my brain on what that is, but it does look like it's probably made out of wood. Maybe it's made out of a tortoise shell with pieces of wood fixed to the top. But I think it's probably just carved wood and then painted over. Before we go, one other thing that I think is that when Spirits of Amazonia is wrapped up in this conclusion, it will make you want to play the original story mode all over again. I bet it'll be like watching a movie with a surprise twist at the end that changes the whole tone of the movie. Well, folks, I do hope you enjoyed this. If you did stick around for a second, I am going to put some other prediction type videos that I have at the end if you'd like to check out some of my other prediction videos. And with that out of the way, I'd like to wish you happy building, safe building, and many blessings. Take care, everyone.